Everybody, welcome to A Voice in the Middle. My name is Dustin, and it has been quite a few years since I have put anything out on this channel. When I created this channel back before COVID started, I did it because I was very worried about the rhetoric that I was seeing both on the right and the left. I come from a very conservative background, grew up very Republican, very Christian, and when Donald Trump was as president for the very first time in office, I was honestly concerned with a lot of things that he heard and that he said. I didn't approve of it. I didn't agree with it, and I thought it was something that was very polarizing. And then COVID happened, and the country got polarized even more. The Republican Party got polarized even more because I looked at everything from a position of a big umbrella. Like, let's take care of the, 60 to 80% of the country that's here in the middle, right? Regardless of whether or not I agree with left politics or not, let's find the compromise where we can. That just wasn't something that could occur, and especially when COVID happened, we became more and more polarized. And honestly, I just kind of gave up on politics. I don't know if anyone's going to find this video, if anyone's going to see it. And I don't think it matters because I just want to talk from my heart for a moment. With what happened with Charlie Kirk yesterday, and it is currently close to midnight on the day after it happened here in Arizona, I was saddened by that. Charlie Kirk was someone that I saw his videos on. I didn't necessarily agree with all of his approaches. I didn't agree with all his politics, all of his rhetorics, but I appreciated him because he was willing to do something that a lot of people were not willing to do. He was willing to go into the middle of the lion's den, if you will, and he was willing to hear other sides of the story. The reality is, I think Charlie Kirk was very sensible in a lot of positions. I think the way things were edited, I think the way other channels presented him was very much from a us versus them mentality, but I don't believe that was his heart whatsoever. But over the last few years, when you look at the rhetoric that has come out from a lot of the far left and the far right, it is safe to say that we are in the middle of a powder keg that's ready to go off. And it's something that needs to be fixed. It needs to be stopped. And it's time that we realize as a country that we are a lot closer than what we realize. We may not agree on a lot of things, and we will always disagree on that. We, at the end of the day, are human beings that have our own self-interest in mind, and we need to admit that. We are human beings that come from our own worldview, our own perspective, and we need to understand and admit that and realize that that's just simply the case of the world that we live in. That people that grew up in the Bible Belt of the United States are going to have a very different worldview and perspective of someone that grew up in the Bronx of the inner city of Brooklyn. And one thing I'm very appreciative of in my life journey is that while I grew up in the Bible Belt, if you will, in a very conservative town, small town in South Texas, I got to live in a town just north of New York City for about 14 years of my life. I moved there a few weeks before September 11th occurred and happened. And I got to experience a different worldview and different perspective. And while I didn't agree with that worldview and perspective, I could appreciate it. I could understand why people came to the conclusions that they came to. And me just turning around and telling them into their face they are wrong was never going to solve or help anything. And if they truly were wrong, then let's find the commonality that we can agree with. And let's figure out where we can come together to find peace and find harmony. And we, in a lot of ways, were able to do that. But since then, we have become more and more divisive. And so, as 9/11 closes, I was watching a clip from Pat McAfee today talking about the history of 9/11 and hoping this country comes back to a portion of September 12th when we came together. Regardless of your political leanings of Charlie Kirk, the political rhetoric needs to stop. We, at the same day, at the same time, we bleed the same color. We are the same people. We desire the same things for our families for the most part, and that is life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness. And what a pursuit of happiness may look like may be different from worldview to worldview, perspective to perspective. But we need to be okay with that and understand it. And so, whether this reaches anyone whatsoever, I don't know. But I just want to get my heart out there to say that we need to come back and we need to have a voice in the middle. We need to stop being Republican and Democrat. We need to start being right versus left. We need to stop being homophobe or homosexual. And we just need to get back to a point that we are just human beings. And let's find the commonality that we can share. We will and always disagree on certain fundamental rights. We will always disagree on fundamental moralistic principles. But if we can find the areas that we can agree on, that we can love on, and that we can appreciate each other on, then maybe we have a chance of healing this country. But if we continue to let rhetoric spawn and to spill out, and for both the agendas of the far, far right and the far, far left to continue to capture our attention and be what we focus on and what we believe on, we are going to have a lot more incidents of Charlie Kirks happening on both sides of the aisle. And that is not something any of us actually want or can afford to come back from. Thank you very much. This is Dustin, a voice in the middle, and I might see you again around soon. Take care.